I'm going on a trip in my favorite rowboat to go steal some stuff. Stealing stuff time. Climb aboard. Let's go and murder some pirates. It'll be fun, you'll see. Murder time, yeah. Hey, what is up everyone? In today's video, it's going to be more of just like a ramble, so I apologize for that. I don't really have a script for this, but I wanted to talk about just my general thoughts on the whole season of Season 4 of Sea of Thieves. So just to say at the beginning, this is my favorite season of Sea of Thieves so far. This, I feel like, is way better in quality of all the other ones. I would say the events are pretty lacking, but we're going to get into that in a second. But in general, I think this has been my favorite season that I've had the most fun in out of this whole year. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So the big thing that got added in this season was Siren Shrines and Treasuries. This basically built off of the Season 3 update. So we had like all the ocean crawlers and sirens added. This basically added to that. And we got these shrines. We got 6 shrines in the world, 2 in each region. And treasuries, there are 3 treasuries, 1 in each region. So let's first talk about the shrines, and then we'll talk about treasuries. The shrines I think are really great. I would say some of them I don't like as much as others. The ones that you get to swim a lot more in kind of annoy me. I've had a lot of times where like I'll be attacked by sharks a lot of times, and it's just kind of annoying to deal with. But, you know, in general, that's how it was designed, and I don't really care too much. I wouldn't say I hate any of them, to be honest. I have a lot of fun doing them. Sometimes I'll go to some of them more than others. For me, the Shrine of Ancient Tribute is my favorite. Let me know what y'all's favorite is in the comment below. But that was definitely my favorite, and I think it's just the coolest. It has like the coolest atmosphere. It's also got that little throne that's in there that's really cool and fun to sit on. I think the shrines are really cool your first time playing through, and it's really fun to bring new people in. But because the puzzles stay the same every time, it makes the replayability of them less and less each time you go through. What I will say is that they do have good rewards. So I find that the shrines, while I don't really get the same amount of enjoyment I did the first time playing it, I do enjoy them because it's a really quick thing. I like to do a little bit of a speed run through them now, where I just try to get through quickly and get the Chest of Ancient Tribute at the end. Now that I've mentioned that, the Chest of Ancient Tribute, having that in there as like the final reward, is a genius idea of reusing old content. If you think about it, the Chest of Ancient Tribute, it's really great to have in it because right now, before this update, you could only get it from the treasure vaults and from the Fort of Fortune. Fort of Fortune, you've heard me talk about in the Season 2 review and other reviews that I hate that completely. It's not that it's a bad fort, but it was a bad season update. It's kind of like putting a band-aid on the problem in Sea of Thieves, where now the money system just doesn't make sense for everything. Like skeleton forts, when they first were introduced on day 1, they used to be the Mac Daddy of all loot pools. But now, like, the loot at a regular skeleton fort just isn't that much. Now that we have things like emissaries and all sorts of stuff, it's a lot easier to get gold quickly. So they made the Fort of Fortune to kind of combat that, but in my opinion, the Fort of Fortune is pretty lame and lackluster and just reuses old content. It wasn't anything really new. They could have done something a lot cooler with it. If you're interested in that, definitely check out that Season 2 video. I don't know if it's specifically on Fort of Fortune or it might just be the whole season. I'll definitely have it linked somewhere, so keep a lookout for that. Back on track though. Having the Chest of Ancient Tribute part of this, I think makes it worth going multiple times. Because I'd rather go through a shrine and try to like speedrun it, because I enjoy just like kind of looking at the ambience, everything. The sound design in these shrines is really great. Just like you hear like the little drips of water in the background, and just like I don't know what it is, like it literally like transports you into this place more so than like anywhere else in Sea of Thieves. Like in most places in Sea of Thieves, I'm just like, oh, I'm playing a video game, whatever. In these caves, I feel like I'm actually inside. So I really like the ambiance of it inside there. That was a lot of rambling, but just having the chest of ancient tribute down there, I'd rather do that than like do the gold hoarder vaults and stuff most of the time. I think having more ways to get these kinds of treasures is a good idea. Other than that, the shrines in general are just a lot of fun. I think for some players it might be frustrating because they might get stuck on parts and you could get confused. There is one shrine, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's like Shrine of Ocean Tribute or something. It's in the Ancient Isles down at the bottom of the map. But this one, everyone that I've seen has struggled to try to find where the entrance is to it. And if you don't know, you have to actually hit this little lever that opens up the door. I think that's kind of bad. It's not very obvious to players. It took me a while to find it when I first did it. And I think that could have been done better. I've seen people have problems in the past with the treasuries and the shrines not knowing where the entrance is. For me, other than that one shrine, most of them are pretty easy for me to find where the entrance is, but it's not very clear, I think, to new players. So I think Rare could do a little bit more into making that better. So one big thing that I've talked about a lot in all of my review videos for the past like year, since they started doing the seasonal updates, is replayability. I think last year we had really good replayability with some of the updates, like we had the Volts added and we had ghost ship voyages and all sorts of stuff. Those are highly replayable and fun to do. But then you have things like A Pirate's Life where the tall tales and stuff. Fort of Fortune, I would say if you'd done the Fort of Fortune once, you probably wouldn't want to do it again because Ashen Lords kind of suck. But it's up to you, honestly. Like, I'm sure there's someone out there that actually likes doing the Ashen Lords. Me personally, I think they're a pain to do and not worth the treasure for it. But replayability is a big thing to me because that's what's going to keep the game going. That was the thing I was the most critical of last season. With Season 3, we had all 5 of those Pirates of the Caribbean Tall Tales added. And they're great, they're amazing. I think it's something that Sea of Thieves needed, but it didn't add any replayability in terms of actually wanting to do it. Of course you can replay it. Pretty much almost anything that they add now you can replay whenever you want. But are players going to replay it? Once you do the story once, you're kind of done. I could see myself replaying maybe the 3rd Tall Tale because I think that was the best one. But other than that, like, there's really no point. I think the next thing we're going to talk about does replayability almost flawlessly. The shrines, on the other hand, I think once you do it once, you kind of got the idea of what's going on. It doesn't change. I think it would have been cool if they figured out a way to make some of the puzzles different each time. I'm not sure how they would have done that, but I think that would have been a cool way to make it a little bit more interesting to replay. Next, let's talk about treasuries. This is by far my favorite thing added all year in Sea of Thieves. This is something that you can basically go in if you have a good 30 minutes, I would say. It takes about 20 minutes to do the treasury and then like probably 5 to 10 minutes to go sail to an outpost. It doesn't take long to do these. You don't get tons of loot, I'll be honest. I think they could bump it up just a little bit. It would be nice to get a chest of ancient tribute maybe, but I don't really care too much if we're being honest. The loot is fine for me because it's not that hard to do. The treasures are basically, the way I think of them, is like a skeleton fort but underwater. So you fight ocean crawlers, you fight sirens, you fight coral skeletons. It's a ton of fun. The treasures are something I've been doing a lot of lately, and just something like when you have some free time, I just hop in, swim down, and fight the treasury either by myself, maybe with someone else. It's really fun to me. Lately, my girlfriend and we play a lot, and she's been wanting to just fish and try to get all of her accommodations done. So usually we'll sail to like one of the wherever the Treasury is, and I'll swim down, I'll fight the Treasury while she gets fish. So then she has fish to sell and I have treasure to sell, and we both make a lot of money for each other. And that's how we've been playing the game a lot lately. I think one thing that's difficult with the Treasury is something that goes with Sea of Thieves as a whole. It's difficult for new players to understand what's going on. I think that if they did it a little bit more of a hand-holding situation with new players, like even if you did something small, like say when you approach the shrine or treasury for the first time, you'll get a little dialogue box that says you have to shoot the coral thing to enter. Because I have had tons of people that have no idea that you're supposed to hit those corals to enter, and the only reason I knew, to be honest, was from doing the tall tale last season, which was the same thing in the second tall tale where you went down to the Siren kingdom to find the black pearl. That's the only reason I knew about it. So when I saw it this season, I was like, oh, I know what to do. But others, they just like, they have no clue what's going on. I have to tell them like, oh, you have to hit this coral thing, let me show you, and we go do it. So I think if there was like a little dialogue box that said that would be good. And then I don't like too many dialogue boxes. I think it should be more like you experience it your own way. But I think one way they could do it that would fit within the world of Sea of Thieves is before you enter Treasury, you have that little like, I'll call it like a little lobby area. It's where you spawn if you die within the Treasury. You can get some tridents, you can supply up. It's great actually. But what if they just had a journal somewhere on the ground in each of them? Say it's like a lost explorer. They have like skeletons all over the place in there too, so like they could just easily put it next to one of them. It could say something like, be warned, you're entering the Siren Treasury, evil monsters will attack, whatever. I'm sure they could come up with something a lot better. But even that, a lot of players would probably skip it. But at least there would be something that for those few players that are like, whoa, what's going on here? What's this? They read it, they're like, oh, well, I better get prepared because it looks like I'm going to be fighting something in here. Or they might just run away. Who knows? But I think that would make it a little less like freaky, because a lot of times you'll enter the Treasury and the first wave is the room just starts filling with water. I know some people freaked out when I first showed them. They're like, are we going to drown? Are we going to drown? What's going on here? There's no like easy way to show them. You kind of just like throw them in there and like, you'll figure it out. I don't know much else to say about the shrines and treasuries. In general, I really like both of them. I think I wouldn't say it's a fundamental change to Sea of Thieves, but it has changed a lot of my play experience. Because I used to look at Sea of Thieves and say like, oh, I have to play for like a good 3 hours if I want to have a fulfilling adventure in the game. Now I can spend about half an hour and still feel like I made a significant amount of money and just progress to whatever I'm working for. I think that is really key. I would hope to see more updates like that where you can have shorter play experiences and still feel fulfilled. That's what they've been trying to do. They talked about that when they started the season updates. They were mostly focusing on just like the season pass and progressing through that, which is still good. That's what I like to do a lot too. But the treasuries and the shrines, those are easy to progress through too within a, good 20-30 minutes. It's not going to take you a long time to do it. I think next we can move on to the free pass and the plunder pass. Now, I talked about this at the beginning of the season. My opinions kind of changed a little bit, but not too much. So let's talk about the free pass first. The free pass, it's not great. I think it's probably the weakest of all the season passes we've had. The pirate legend rewards are kind of trash, if I'm being honest. I was actually kind of looking forward to the tier 100 pirate legend reward, which is like a spyglass. I think it's Wanda's spyglass, I can't remember. But it basically looks like a Reaper spyglass. They probably should just save that as like a Reaper's Bones emissary reward rather than make it a pirate legend thing. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it. But what I don't like is when you look through it, it has this really dark red tint, which looks cool. It can be used for some cool videos and stuff. But as like an actual spyglass that you use, I don't think it's going to be that useful. I think it's actually going to be more harmful to you using it as a player, because it's going to be harder to see enemies and stuff because of how dark it is. So that's something that I don't like. And then you have Briggsy's sword, which is the other pirate legend reward. That I think looks really ugly. The other stuff in the pass, I'm kind of more just like meh on. It's a lot of the Wicked Web stuff, and some of it's okay, but most of it's like it's a lot of clothing and stuff. I'm just not a big fan of it. I can't see myself using it. I said it from day one though, that my favorite thing in the pass, the free pass, is that capstan. It's like the ferryman capstan or something. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like from the Ferry of the Dam, but I'm not sure exactly what the name is. But it's got these candles, and the candles are animated and stuff, and they all are lit and everything. I'm actually really surprised that's in the free pass, because I could have sworn, like, if you just showed me that, like, and said that that was from the Emporium, I would not have questioned it, because that's how high quality this one cosmetic is. I really wish the rest of the cosmetics kind of were a little bit closer to that, because I don't want to say this pass sucks, because there's some really good highlights to it, but then there's also some really bad downfalls. The other standout reward from the free pass that I saw was this sniper that looked kind of like a crossbow, and it kind of makes me want a crossbow now in the game. But even if we don't get it, this looks so cool, and I pretty much have used it every time that I'm fighting with the sniper, because I don't usually fight with the sniper too often, but I use it for like when I'm fighting with Megs and other like enemies in the Sea of Thieves. But I definitely love that sniper, so I'm happy that they added that in too. Next, let's go ahead and talk about the Plunder Pass. So at the beginning of the season, I was really excited for the Plunder Pass, and I wouldn't say it's the best Plunder Pass we've had, but it's definitely pretty good. One that I was willing to spend my money on. Now, this season's Plunder Pass, like I've criticized other ones, you don't get enough to pay back what you spent. You get 250 in the free pass and then 250 in the Plunder Pass, so that only gets you about halfway there. Even still, I think you're getting a good enough value if you like a majority of the rewards. The main reason I wanted to get it was because I liked the emotes, and also I really liked the costumes. But I was really excited for the weapon bundles and stuff, and the ship cosmetics. Other than the sales, I think the rest of the ship parts are pretty good. I'm annoyed that we don't have a capstan or cannons. That's kind of weird that we don't get those. I think they could have done better with the figurehead. I think they could have made that more like a jack-o'-lantern rather than just a regular pumpkin. I have a feeling we'll see like a collector's version of that in the future, and probably see that in the Emporium maybe next year. I'm not sure. But the biggest disappointment for me was the weapons. The weapons aren't bad, but I was actually really looking forward to the pistol and the sword and stuff. The sword, it just doesn't feel right holding it. It looks really weird in my hand, and I've used like weird swords in the game before, but this one just like doesn't feel right, and I feel like it's messing with my head when like fighting with it. So I kind of just gone back to my standard swords that I use. The pistol isn't bad. I just don't find myself using it that often, because I think it's a little bit more difficult to aim than the ones that just have a sight at the end and it's like a flat barrel with the sight, which is what you see me usually playing with. So it's not that these cosmetics are bad. They actually look really nice, other than the sword. It's just I kind of found myself a little disappointed. Maybe I was a little too overhyped. The best thing in the Plunder Pass has to be the costume, which I absolutely love. I like to call myself the Pumpkin Lord now. I've been using it a lot lately. Just like anytime I'm not doing tucking, I basically have that costume on all the time. And I think it's a really great costume. It's a little bulky, but I don't think it's too bad. I still don't use it for tucking and stuff just because it's too big for me and it stands out a lot. But when just regular fighting or just doing other stuff, I think it's perfectly fine to use. It has a built-in emote that I didn't know about until I got it, which is really cool. You can like take its head and spin it. It's what you saw on the trailer when the season started, but I didn't realize that was going to be like an emote that you had. I figured that was just like something they did with like CGI or something. But those are my general thoughts on the free pass and the Plunder Pass. So next, let's talk about the events we got. So we got a few events. We got the Fury of the Dam event, I believe is what it's called. And then we also got the Feast of Bounty or Festival of Bounty, something. Like I said, I didn't write a script for this, so I'm just kind of taking it out of my head, my general thoughts. Fury of the Dam, I did a review on that one already, so I'm not going to spend too long talking about it. If you want to go check that out, I'll have that linked. But in general, I thought it was pretty bad, not for the fact that the cosmetics weren't as great. I will say last year's cosmetics were a lot better, but I didn't really care too much about that. I just want something fun to do during the game, because once you get to that second and third month of a season, it kind of gets a little stale. Sea of Thieves doesn't really act like other games. Like, you'll see other games that run on a season, like Fortnite. They'll have like every other week there's an update. Sea of Thieves, really, their updates that come in between the monthly ones are basically just like bug fixes and stuff. It's never like content. The only real content updates we get are the monthly updates, and even the monthly updates are just like, usually it's an event, and then sometimes it's like cosmetics added to the outpost shops, which is fine, but it does make it feel a little boring when you get to the second, third month. I don't think that's great for Sea of Thieves in the long run. I hope that they maybe amp up the events and make them a little bit more interesting for people to participate in, but that could be a whole separate video. So the Fury of the Dam event, it's not because the rewards were bad. I think the rewards were actually good for what they were. They just weren't on the same level as last year, because last year we got a costume, we got a really cool sword, got all sorts of stuff, which you can still unlock, by the way. You just have to get it from the Pirate Legend shop in Athena's Fortune. But what really got it for me was the challenges were such of a grind unless you were in an alliance. That was my problem. I did unlock more after making that review, so I didn't just stop. I did keep going, but I was a bit disheartened by the reliance on needing an alliance to get these challenges done. The community challenges though, those were great. I hope we see more community challenges in the future. I think that's a really cool idea, and I want more of that. The Festival of Bounty one, this one I like a bit more just because you don't really need other people for it too much, other than the second part where you have to drink with another crew and stuff. That's kind of annoying, but it's a lot easier than like convincing people that like join an alliance and then go and fight skeleton ships and do forts and stuff together. Most people would be fine going to an outpost and having a drink with you. This one was cool because it's just a lot of cooking and fishing and stuff. So I think a lot of players, they forget that all these like fishing and cooking mechanics work in the game. I've been doing it a lot lately with my girlfriend, like I mentioned earlier. I think this event was really fun, and I'm hoping other people liked it too. I don't think the rewards were that great, to be honest. I think the rewards for this was worse than the Halloween event this year. But the challenges are a lot easier, I would say. It's mostly just you do a little bit of cooking, go on a little cooking adventure. You probably get it done within a day, if I'm being honest. They didn't give much time for this event though. It was only 1 week, which is kind of surprising. I would have expected at least like 2 weeks, to be honest. But I guess they figured a lot of people were going to be home for Thanksgiving. Kind of weird, but I'm sure Sea of Thieves is looking at this kind of data and they're like, they'll adjust it for the future events. I'll be honest, I can't even remember if we had an event in September. If we did, that's how forgettable it was. So if there was one, if you want to let me know in the comments, I will do like a little mini review down there. Normally in like a season review, I probably wouldn't mention it, but I did want to say how one of my favorite figureheads in the game got a reskin this season, and I'm actually really happy about it because I wasn't able to get it the original time that it came out, because it came out during a campaign where you needed a lot of people's help. You couldn't do it solo, and that's how I played back in the day. So I was really excited to be able to get a reskin version of this cosmetic. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the Fearless Bone Crusher figurehead. It basically looks like the front of a skeleton ship, which I think that just is really cool. It goes really well with the Black Pearl sails, so take that knowledge as you will. Alright, I'm not really sure how long this video went for, so I'm gonna go ahead and, do my little ending. I did want to say I had people comment before. I haven't talked about it in any of the videos yet, but if you are interested, we do have like a little merch shop. It's not just like my logo, though. There are shirts and sweatshirts and stuff with that on it. I have other shirts on there that are like Sea of Thieves type of stuff. If you're interested, take a look. It's in the description of every video. I thought I'd just do a little plug since people didn't know about it. I try not to like overly market stuff on here because I just want to make videos. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, it'd be great if you left a like and subscribe. Can't wait for season 5. It looks like it's gonna be really cool. I'll see y'all later. Thanks for watching. Bye y'all.